Welcome to another edition of the Inside Scoop. My name is Neil Crawford. I'm your host and also the founder of Anytime Soccer Training. We have a special one for you today. I am sitting down with Thomas Dooley. Thomas has played football in Germany, German international player, German player, American international, has coached at the highest levels in the Philippines, and is now an academy director at a growing academy club in Hanoi, Vietnam. Now, I don't have all day with Thomas. Thomas, this interview could be 3 hours. I'm gonna have to actually invite you back on later. So we're gonna touch on some key moments in each of your major experiences. And we will get into some details about how football is structured in the different experiences and get your impressions. But what we're going to be most interested in is how you compare the different areas and what you have learned from those differences because you have so many experiences. But before we jump in, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about your background.
Okay, my name is Thomas Dooley. I grew up in Germany, American father, German mom, was born in Germany as an American, got my German citizen when I was 9. Started playing soccer when I was 9 and played in my hometown. 1,000 people live in that little village. Played when I was 17, 18 in 11th division. So it's a pyramid in Germany. Where the lowest level is 11th division. And I met a person who came over and asked me if I'm happy with my life. I said, no, actually not. And he said, come to my office. He was a director of an insurance company. Come to my office and let's talk. So I did that, and multiple weeks, I don't know how many months, every 2 weeks we met for an hour. He energized my battery, and it was amazing. He opened up my eyes and my life changed totally. And from that moment on, I did follow what he was telling me, and I won a championship in the German in the 11th division. I signed a contract in the 3rd division, won a championship in the 3rd, championship in the 2nd Bundesliga, championship in the Bundesliga, the German Cup, the German Super Cup, the UEFA Cup. Went to play in the national team, played Copa America, US Cup 81 times for the national team. And then played in the World Cup 2 times in the World Cup. One time in the 2nd World Cup, I was captain, and then I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Soccer Hall of Fame. 2 times I was Player of the Year and Athlete of the Year in the US. So I am very, very pleased and happy and honored about my life, how I achieved those things. And I can tell you it was only because of that moment with that insurance director of the insurance company, because he opened up my eyes. Later on, I coached for as an assistant coach for the US U20 and the men's national team. I signed in the Philippines, coached the national team in the Philippines very successfully, and went to Vietnam as a sports director for the 1st division club, who didn't win for 20 years a championship. When I came, we won a championship because I opened up some eyes and the mind of the first team players. And then 2 years later, they called me back again. That was in December, and asked me, please, Thomas, come back, help us with the club again. And our academy teams need to be developed. And if you want to take that job on. And I said, that's perfect, because I have also a mentorship program, TD5MP, where I teach kids the mental part, the mentality, and that's what I can do here with the academy team players. So that is my football life over the last 50 years, and I love football. I love to play football. I don't like to chase football, and helping kids to fulfill their dreams, that's my goal.
Okay, so Thomas, man, there's so much to unpack there. And let me tell you how the show normally works but we're probably going to go in a different direction for this one. So the way this show normally works is I talk a little bit about the U.S. soccer system, and just to give you some context, but you're going to know about it, especially the youth soccer system, and then we compare that to wherever you're from. But in this case, you have so much information and so many experiences. I'm just going to dive into a couple of things in each area. So let's start with your childhood. When you were growing up, did you play just grassroots and then get into an academy? Were academies even the way we think about them now? Were they even there when you were growing up? Or what was your childhood soccer like growing up in Germany?
Everything started like this. When I was 8 years old, or yeah, maybe 8 years old, when we went to school, we were only 500 meters away from the school. That's where we lived. And the school had in front of the school a sand field with two big old wood as a goalposts on there. And that's where we played every day. So after school, we played there for a couple hours. When we had vacation for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we were there in the morning at 8 o'clock. We started playing. We played until noon. My mom was whistling from the far, and we know now we need to come home at lunch. So we went home lunch 2 hours later, or 1 hour later. The first one knocks already on the door. Hey, let's go back again. So we went and we played until it was dark, until my mom picked us up again. So we played every day against older ones, 14, 15, 16-year-old ones. And we were only 8, 9, 10. So because we played there, we developed our coordination, the touches with the ball, and so on. And then when we played there, our teacher from that school, always watching, be in the window and watching. And one time he came down and said, "Hey guys, why don't you play organized football? Sign up, but in 2 weeks we have a game. I would like to be your coach." And then we all looked at each other and said, "You know what? Hey, let's do it." So then we signed up and we played for our home club with 1,000, 1,200 people. We had 20 kids who aged 9 and 10. And we trained for four times in those 2 weeks. And then we had our first game. We went there. That's another story. We went there and they were all laughing about us. Look at those little kids. The kindergarten is over there. We're gonna beat those guys for 10-0. And the coach came into the locker room, and it was a beautiful field. I mean, really nice field. And so we came in, and the coach said, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Why do you put your head down? Are you afraid of those guys? They're the same age that you guys are. You play against 14, 15-year-old ones. And you're not afraid. Now you be afraid of those 9, 10-year-olds? No, just because they are bigger and taller? Just go out and kick the butt." We won the first game 10-0.
Oh my gosh.
Killed them. So, and that was amazing. So, and then, growing up in that little village, so everything is like just training twice a week and blah, blah, blah. But
so hold on. So Thomas, so let me understand something. So you're free playing hours and hours against kids. Then your school teacher says, "Let's form a team." So now if you put your adult hat on, what league is he putting you in? Or are you just playing against another neighborhood team in an unorganized, like, is he registering you with the FA?
Yeah, that's a structure. In Germany, it's really a structure. You have the first division, the Bundesliga. You have a second division. You have a third division, the fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10. You have the states. They are, it's the same kind of a pyramid in there. So the bottom is like that. And each club has an overage, like over 40. It calls old people league. Then you have a first team. You have a second team. And then you have a youth team, U18, U17, U16, or at that time was U18, U16, U14, U12, U10. So 10, you play 9, 8 years old, you play. But you play in leagues. They have already in the U10, they have leagues. like A, B, C. So we played, maybe when you start a club, you play in a C league. So then if you are winning, then you go up to the B league, and then you go up to the next level. So even in the youth system, there's a pyramid that you're promoting. If you are one of the best, if you're the best in the league, you promote in the next level. So that's kind of a structure that is in there. So we started the first one and we kicked butt. I mean, every year we were like one of the best.
So then let's fast forward to when you would have been U17, U18, and then at that point, were you ever, or any time between the time of that story until U17, U18, were you scouted by any clubs? And if not, is that how you went to the 11th Division club?
No, I was, my cousin, he played in the youth team from Kaiserslautern. He was a very good player. So he played with that Kaiserslautern UA league, UA, that means U8, 18, U19, and then you come B, it's like the 2 years younger than the C, and so on. So, and he played there with a lot of the players who later on went professionally, played in that club. So he always told me, Thomas, you want to go there? I can bring you in for a tryout. But I was kind of afraid. It never really happened. So I stayed. Actually, at one time we were wondering, that came later when we won a championship. I was wondering, why all the club in the neighborhoods, in other villages, they always have 1 or 2 players playing in the all-star team, in the region all-star team. That's like a scouting area. Why is not from us? We had never a player from us playing in that all-star team, and we winning every year the championship or the cup. How is that possible? And then the club president said, oh, we didn't want, they every year they send us letters, we should provide with 2, 3, 4 players, but we didn't want to do it because we need to get out of the 11th division once in our lifetime. And if we let you play there, you guys are gone. That was horrible. That was for me like, oh my gosh, how is that possible? So I played then later on when that year when we found out, we were 17, 18. So we played in our own club, own village, first team. So the bottom of the bottom.
So let me throw two things at you. One comment and one question. In my own just rants, I am about to do a podcast where I'm going to argue that I don't understand why U.S. soccer doesn't do something like that, and almost force the clubs to nominate their best players, so that in terms of a scouting, so that then they could then be seen by MLS pro teams, because our country is so big. So U.S. soccer needs to step in and say, guys, you have to nominate your best 3 or 4 players. We're going to do this regional camp, and then we're going to help the MLS pro teams weed out who we think should be able to go there, and then let them try out for the MLS pro team. Because in our country, I mean, you know the States, it's so big that you might have one MLS pro team maybe in your state, and they just can't canvass the entire state, finding every nook and cranny kid. So, but it's interesting that you said that they wanted to keep you guys together. Now, the club that you were playing for, that ended up in the 11th, that played in the 11th division, I'm assuming then they were a local club, and it's just really grassroots, but they had aspirations to go higher.
Yeah, I mean, it is different. It's, in America, everything is about money. And in Germany, it was everything about heart. I mean, it's about the fun, to play and to support. So the coaches didn't get paid. The club, the money that we made to pay for the fields and all that stuff is, there was a clubhouse also. And the clubhouse was one of the places where it was also a business for the person who had the clubhouse. so that we could go in and have a drink and we eat something, and the adults can come in and watch the game and have a drink and something like that. But everything was like, from the support. My cousin was a manager of our team. Then a coach was one of the ex-players from the club, and they coming in, dedicating their time just to being, to doing something for that village. Compared to in America, everything is about money, because the referees, we didn't have referees. We had two guys from, a parent over there and a cousin from over there, get the shirt in your hands and the ball is out, we call the ball out. And sometimes you have a referee called in. But it's about, you have to, in the US, and I think, it's not that I don't like it. I'm not against it, because you are creating a business where people paying for something, and you be organized. You have linesmen, you have referees, but they have to be kind of okay. If the linesman and referee have no clue about it, then they shouldn't do it. But everything costs money. I had an academy in building an academy in California. I mean, you're paying for everything. Without money, you cannot get a field to train on. It's crazy. So that is a big issue, the big difference.
So then let's juxtapose that then. So when you in the clubs in Germany, especially the lower division clubs, most of it is volunteer run. What about the field? How much would that rental be, like roughly?
Nothing. I mean, the feed is coming from the village. There's an area over there, you build one, and then you get like 20, 30 people, in a line, and say, okay, let's flatten that thing. And then they have somebody who has a escalator, whatever, and he's going in and flattening it, and then put sand on it. And some people, they have a little bit of money, they have a donut, and they did this. People are supporting. I mean, one time when I played in Kaiserslautern, and I sponsored them the jerseys. I bought the jerseys for them. Just so, they have nice jerseys again. So you find always in a village somebody who says, I'm going to support them. And then the people say, okay, we need to buy some stuff. So everybody who watched the game of the kids pay maybe $1 or $2, the adults. So you want to watch the first team, you pay $1. If you want to watch the kids teams, then okay, we do some donation. Somebody puts $1 in, somebody puts $5 in. Sometimes the kids, we have, going out and having a celebration. Like once a year, there's a sports fest. And this sports fest is like a kids tournament and an adults tournament. That's where sometimes you have like 1,000 people watching, because they're coming from the neighborhood village. And then you ask, it costs like a ticket costs like $1. And that goes into the money to have somebody say, okay, we pay you $20. Can you cut the lawn, or can you clean up, or can you put this, or can you do that? Or we need no jerseys or something like that. So
Okay.
it's all voluntary.
See, that's interesting. That's extremely interesting. Now, unlike America, so you guys are staying together, and the players, you guys came up all throughout the ranks, and then you eventually played for your first team, but it's on the 11th division. Is that fair? With the same club.
Yes.
And then you would have played other local 11th division clubs around the area.
Yeah, there are groups. Yeah, in that state has like 8, 9, or 10, like 11 division areas. So that means we don't have to travel that far. We play against those local little clubs. The furthest was maybe 10, 15, or maybe 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers.
And
So
how much do
you that league? If you win, you go to the next level. And the higher you go, obviously, more you have to travel. And sometimes a club who is going 4 or 5 levels up, they say, okay, this is enough, because now we can't afford it to travel every 2 weeks, out of the state into a different area. It's too much money. We can't handle that. And they stay.
And then they would then, if for all practical purposes, sell those players on. They might stay there and sell their best players on if that's what they're going to do. If those best players have ambitions. So it may have broken up. So then I said, and that, can you hear me? So we had a quick technical glitch. So in those situations, they make it high enough and then it's too much, then the best players may be sold on and that club may stay kind of sort of where they're at. So I get that. So then how did you so you won the league and then you kept moving up, and then how did you eventually get to the Bundesliga? Tell us that story.
Yeah, that was I mean, to the Bundesliga was still a little bit longer, but I started meeting that guy and I changed my life, my thinking, my work, you know, everything, what I need to do, setting my plans. And then I was working on it. And 6 months later, there was a guy who a coach from a third division team who says, you know, I'm looking for 2 more young players. And then the guy said, in the area. And he said, have you ever checked out those 2 guys in the 11th division in Beethoven, the Dooley brothers? And then he said, do you think they can make it? And he said, yeah, I think they can make it. So they came over, watched the tournament that we played that weekend. And then after the weekend, he called us up and he says, you know, he wants to meet us. And they want me and my brother to play for their club. So and that's how I get into the third division. But
so
then
let me ask you this. So at what division do players, roughly speaking, you think start getting paid?
They're getting paid in the 6th division, 7th division sometimes.
And then in what division do you think a player can earn enough to only play football?
Maybe 3rd, 2nd division. Now it's maybe 4th division. At that time, was it maybe 3rd, or at least between 3rd? Some teams in the 3rd division and some teams in a 2nd division.
Okay, so then you got scouted for a 3rd division club, and what was the name of that club?
TuS Landstuhl. That is the team who moved up from a 4th division into the 3rd division.
Okay, so then how did you go from that 3rd division club to the Bundesliga club?
I was a top scorer. I scored most goals in our team, and so we relegated into back into the 4th division. But a team who was like on the top 3 came over and said they want me and my brother again to stay in the league, and they should sign up with them. So that was FK Pirmasens, and that's a team that I also watched when I was young. My cousins, the brothers, so the one who played for Kaiserslautern, the youth team, and his brother, they took me and my brother to Pirmasens, to Homburg, and to Kaiserslautern to watch the professional games. So that club called me up and asked if I would like to come and play with them next year. So I did, and my brother too. But my brother was very unsuccessful because he torn his ACL in Landstuhl in the 3rd game, and he could never play again.
Oh, well, sorry to hear that. So now let's talk about a transition though. So you're in the Bundesliga, you did extremely well. You guys won the Bundesliga. With what club did you win the Bundesliga with?
Kaiserslautern.
Okay, yeah. And then you also won the German Cup.
The German DFB Cup and German Super Cup. That was also with Kaiserslautern. I was 5 years in Kaiserslautern. So also
just for our American listeners, what are those 2 cups?
The cup, the German DFB Cup, is like the US Cup, where every professional team in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th division playing tournaments, and the winner of this tournaments is the German Cup winner. So actually, they use, even in the 11th division, they play tournaments to win. And if they win the tournament, the next tournament, if they win, they're moving up in the ladder. And maybe 2 years later, when they continue to moving up, they have a chance to play in that DFB Cup.
Oh, wow. It's
Amazing.
very
Yeah.
organized. And then, okay, so let's fast forward to when you went to the States. How did that happen? I know you said your father was American, but how did that happen?
There was we won the German championship in Cologne, so we won 6-2 in Cologne, and then 6 months later we have a home game against Cologne, and my agent, his best friend was from Cologne, so he invited him to come and watch the game. So he said, I can't, my girlfriend from the United States, she's here, and so he said, bring her, so at least that she knows about football in Germany. And he said, oh, actually, she works for the U.S. Soccer Partners, Jennifer Hammer. And so, okay, bring her. So they watched the game. And after the game, we met in the VIP room. And then she speaks very good German. I couldn't speak any English, so she speaks very good German. So, and then she was asking, you know, if we want to go out for dinner. And I was like, no, I can't. I have to leave. My agent came and said, oh, this is Jennifer Hammer. She works for U.S. Soccer Partners. That's Matthias, my friend from Cologne. And this is Thomas Dooley, who plays here in Kaiserslautern. And then they went, and after dinner, she was asking my agent, this name Dooley, that's not a German name, Dooley. And he said, no, his father is American, but he plays in Germany as a German, because he has also German citizenship. And she said, okay, his father was American, so maybe he can play for us in the World Cup '94. And then he said, yeah, I can ask him. So he called me that morning at 4 o'clock, Thomas, sit down. I said, what the heck are you talking about? Sit down. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. He said, you know, the lady from last night, she works for the U.S. Soccer Partners, like German Federation sponsors. So, and she was asking if you want to play for the United States, you want to play? I said, of course I want to play. That's amazing. And then I got 2 months later, I got invited to come to Chicago and finalized my passport. And then I flew back as an American with my passport in my hands, and I could play for the United States.
So hold on, Thomas. I'm starting to connect some dots here now. Wait a minute. I'm actually embarrassed. I should have done more research. So the 1994 team has been America's most successful team so far, right?
No. We actually, I think the most successful was 2002 with Bruce Arena in Asia.
But didn't you guys in '94, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they get knocked out by Germany?
No, that was 2002 in Asia.
Oh, was that the 2002?
Yeah.
Okay.
94 was actually the first time that we had success to going into the second round. And in the second round, we lost against Brazil, who won the World Cup that year. And then a year later, we started with the MLS. That was the beginning of actually the big success with the national team. But 2002 with Bruce Arena, we had the best success. I mean, I see it like yesterday. There was a handball from the Germans on the line. It should have been a penalty for us. I remember great because I was in the German studio and live show, and with the head of the referee department in Germany. And when that happened, and I jumped up and I looked at him, he looked at me, he knew, but he could not admit. He said, no, he didn't move his hand to the ball and say, give me a break. If that would be on the other side, you would jump up, would say was a penalty. So we should have gotten that penalty, and then we would have won the game, and we would go to the final. So that's why that was the best World Cup.
All right. So that's when you should have done, your little VAR symbol.
Yeah,
but of course,
exactly.
Of course, they didn't have it back then.
But they showed it a couple of times. It was clear to see that he didn't move his hand, but if he could move his hand to let it go through, but he didn't, so it was a handball.
So how do you compare your experience in German professional football to what you experienced? And I know it's different because it's a national team as well, but to what you experienced at that time with the US national team. Were they far behind, or did you feel, how did you feel? Or
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're far behind. I never forget when I went first time to Columbus. You know, when I left Germany, I was in Schalke '04. They built a brand new, big, huge stadium. Our training facilities are amazing at that time, and you know, I made a decision to go to play for the or to play for Columbus in the MLS because my last couple of years, but I could stay in Schalke '04 and I play another year or maybe even two with another club. But I know I wanted to come to MLS. I wanted to play there. So when I came and then we had in Columbus, we trained behind the stadium on a field that was uneven. The grass was this high. And I was sitting there because I broke my fibula in the last 2 months in Schalke, so I couldn't play, so I had to take a rest. And so I just watched. And I was thinking, what the heck am I doing over here? I was just thinking about the facility that we had in Schalke. And even now it's 10 times better anyhow. But at that time, what facility that we had in Bayer Leverkusen, in Kaiserslautern, in Schalke '04. And now I'm coming to Columbus and in this old horseshoe stadium, when you train on a field that you have to walk through those long grasses and there are holes in there, you can break your ankles. And I said, oh my gosh, what did I do? But I mean, later on, we moved into the facility that we had in Columbus, and it was a great facility also. And I enjoyed playing. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Was it the level? No, it doesn't. It wasn't the level. And the national team, no, of course not. We have 70%, 65% of the players from the national team were college players. So college players and Bundesliga, there's a huge difference. Huge
so
difference.
so even though I know it's a huge difference, and you're saying it's a huge difference, try your best to give a dumb American who never played the game an example of the difference. So like in basketball, for example, if you compare a basketball player and to a college one, a pro to college, like their shooting accuracy would just be so much higher, or their ability to see the game. They don't make certain mistakes. What terms would you use to help somebody understand the difference of the levels from the US at that time to the Bundesliga that you was used to, players?
It's similar. It's a different level. So in every sports you do, if you divide from the professionals up to the next levels, up to the ones who just want to go and play in the weekend games, that's a huge difference. The way you think, and again, it's why handling the ball, making a decision, handling the ball, receiving the ball, passing the ball, the accuracy in passing, the understanding of the game, the fitness level. It's in every part is a couple levels up. So you would never have a chance to make it in one of those leagues if you are not really on that kind of a level, the way you think. You know, another thing is when I went with some of the Philippines, we watched the game in Singapore, Bayern Munich against Chelsea, and then they asked, why do they do the grass so wet before the game? And I say, well, what do you think? That the grass is growing a little bit in the next 10, 15 minutes? No, they want to make it uncomfortable as possible. The better the field is, the much faster the ball travels. If the ball travels much faster, it's much more difficult to receive the ball. So if you have difficulties receiving the ball, the opponent has a chance to win the ball better. And if you are better in combination and better technique with the ball, you can destroy another team who doesn't. So now you're looking even on the little things in football right now to make a difference in the game. And at that time, we didn't have all those, technology and all that stuff. But the thinking process was much faster because of the development that you have and the levels you have in Germany, where they need to understand how the game is being played and they have to show it week by week to get picked out to get to a better team. We get picked out over there, get to a better team. While you have in that huge America, you have what? A college team. You don't have a professional league. College teams play only like 3-4 months a year. I mean, there must be a difference. If somebody studies, you be a doctor and somebody just reading books.
Yeah, see, I can relate even when I always bring in my older son into the picture because he happens to be in a club where I feel like it's pretty decent. And so then occasionally when he plays outside of that environment, with other clubs or doing this and that, you can see it's almost like you kind of want to whisper to the other kids, hey, this is what you should be seeing, or they make the game so complicated sometimes when they can just make the simple pass and move into space, or they're trying to do something really elaborate when they can just do this, or their body positioning is so off that when they receive the ball, they don't even have an opportunity to see what else is out there. So I get that. I get that. I can't picture it at the professional level because I just can't. But I definitely can see it at a youth level because I've watched so much, which is a segue into the next point.
There's no different in the adult level, in the professional level. What you see in the kids is the same with adults. Everybody thinks football is, it's an easy game when you watch it. It's not. It's the same when I see like a doctor, or not a doctor, let's say a lawyer. And I told it actually our president in the Philippines, and I told them too, so the job that you guys have, it's so easy. You're a lawyer. You get the clients come in, I did this, I did that. Okay, you listen what he's saying. And then when he's leaving, you make some noise. When he's leaving, you call in your secretary, say, okay, this is what we need to do. Send a letter over here, do them that, and you talk this guy, do it. And then you go back to drink your coffee again. That's much more complicated. There's much more into this thing. Same as with coaching, the same as with playing. It looks so easy, but there's so many different parts in there. They have to be 100%. The more the closer you're 100%, the better player you are. So the people with the accuracy who are 90% accurate compared to somebody who's only 40% accurate, he can't play. It's impossible. If you cannot receive a ball, you can't play. If you cannot receive the ball good, you can't play. If you cannot pass the ball right, you can't play. If you're not fit, you can't play. It's everything. All the 4 pillars in football, technique, tactic, fitness, mental part, has to be in detail worked out. And if you are not doing it, you are not that level because you're always behind. That's how simple it is. Every part has to be almost up to the perfect level.
Interesting. Great. So now you said you had you started an academy in the US and you limited on how expensive it was to run, which I can definitely appreciate as a paying customer. But what's the story behind that?
I started it again because I believed in the system where you need to develop the player. And again, it doesn't come overnight. Everything happens for a reason. I want to do an academy, a real academy where the players train every day, not twice a week because of the money. If you have a team who trains 4 times a week, or you have a team with training only 2 times a week, you make double of the money because you train him 2 times a week and they have to pay for that. So now I was thinking about, if I want to be successful and I want to make it right, I need to have the kids training 5 times a week or at least 4 times a week. That's what I did. So the people signed up with my club. I didn't get the best players, obviously, because they all want to play in the Premier League and blah, blah, blah. So I need to start and build it up. I started with one played in the Bronze League, one played in the Silver League, and there's one team that I took over from another team that, you know, they want to come over the whole team. So I could use that as a Silver Elite team. So, but then we had the Silver team who won the championship, and we won the California State Cup with that team. So we had to be a good team to beat those gold teams and Premier teams and winning the Gold Cup, the State Cup. And that happens only because we train 5 times a week. The team is getting much, much better than with only 2 training sessions a week. We had in a semifinal and final, we had coaches from colleges came over and want to watch our game. They didn't want to watch the opponent. They said, what the heck is wrong with this Silver team who's beating those gold teams and Premier teams and going to the final? There must be good players in it. And we got some players that went to college and later on, obviously, because they're getting better and better. So that was my idea. But financially, you can handle that because, you know, I even was on the park. We trained on a nice park, big, huge park. And in the end, that was my ending. In the first year, we had 3 teams. We won 2 championships and one time the State Cup. I had 6 in the second year. From 6, we won 2 championships again. And with 1, we almost made it. And then in the third year, I stopped. And I stopped because we had now 8 or 9 teams or 7 teams. And a week before we started to play, the city, they called me and I should come to the office. I went to the office and they told me, hey, by the way, we have to let you know that you cannot train on that park anymore. That was like the training sessions for 2 of the teams. And I said, what do you mean? They said, no, you can't train it. I said, why not? And he said, oh, because of the adult league that you train and about the games you play on the weekend. And I said, is that the reason? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, first of all, I don't have adult league or adult players in my academy. The second is we are not playing games there. Oh, no, we need the space. You know what happened? Baseball used it and football came out. And now I have to tell the parents, I'm sorry, we don't have a league. And I have to give them the money back again because they want to join another team. And I said, done, closing everything. I have no interest anymore because of politics and blah, blah, blah. I just said, if you guys don't want that, I'm sorry. I would love to have it, but you know, that's how, and I need to run. I was more in offices asking, can I use that little green pitch outside behind your school that I can train with one team maybe once a week, and negotiating with people in that environment that, you know what, I cannot be on the field teaching the kids. I need to talk about, and it's all about, you know, connections that they have. And I say, done, I'm having it, not doing it anymore.
Thomas, I'm not just being agreeable. I just wrapped up an interview of a parent who started a team, and I'm not going to go through all the details, but basically has gone through the same stuff. He ended up having to go. He only had one team, by the way. He volunteers his time. He ended up having to go to the school board and asking them, could they please give him field space for one team at one school facility in Louisiana. And it's just like a shame that that's kind of where we at now. They should be embracing it, saying, what can we do to help make this work? It's the complete opposite. As a matter of fact, in US soccer, and this is an issue that we have because independent operators, small business operators, small clubs are being pushed out. They weaponize the field space. Now, I know it's not so simple. I know that we'll get folks on who will give another perspective. But from what I can see, it's very difficult to just do the common sense stuff that's in the best interest of kids. Now, how do you, so when you decided to create your club and you said you want to do something different, and we're almost wrapping up, and you said you want to do something different, in addition to the 5 days a week, what else did you do differently with your club that you feel like was not happening in similar spaces in the States? So I'm saying effectively, you taking your experience from Germany, you taking your experience, obviously your other professional experience in the States, and then you're applying it now to the youth system. When you created your own club, what else did you do differently other than the extended training days?
Nothing. I mean, that was the first step. You know, you can have $1 million and they say, okay, now we start renting out a classroom, and now we're doing theory lessons, and we're watching the games, you're taping the games, analyzing the game. Now you can do all that. Or maybe you can say, okay, let's try to start getting the first step done. You know, trying to get a team or maybe a couple teams. And I was thinking about maybe I can get supports from the area. Say, you know what, we like actually the idea that it's not just about money. It's I have to pay for the coaches, and I have to pay for the field, and I have to pay for the equipment, and I have to pay for all that stuff. So it has to come from somewhere. And obviously, you know, if you don't have to sponsor, then the parents have to pay for it. But the support that I was hoping that I could get from the city, I was talking to the city in Mission Viejo, where we trained at the World Cup, and trying to ask for facilities and stuff like that. And it's just, again, it's so time consuming when you go on the outside just to get something done. If you don't have the support from big companies with millions of dollars to put the academy in place, then it's not going to work. But that reminds me of those things that you said before in one of those comments about the academy system and with the scouting and all that stuff. I disagree a little bit. I think in that case, it is okay what we have. I really think it's okay what we have. In every area, when I lived in California and LA and Orange County, we had the academy system where the best players in that area will be picked from the Padiadors, from strikers, from all the teams in that area. They picking out the best players, and all the players in different clubs want to go and want to play for that club in the academy, because they know they will be seen. So the system doesn't have to come from the federation to find out all over the place. Let the academy teams find out the best players in the area. And when the academy teams playing against each other, I was scouting for the national teams and the academy teams. And I really like that. That's how you can narrow everything down. But when you narrowed it down, then you have to get those players together. And I think, I don't know if they're still there, but they had the U17 team for a year in the academy in Florida. And I heard so many things, what went wrong over there, that needed to be fixed. But what we did in the World Cup, we stayed there for 1 year. And normally within 60% academy players, and then 35, maybe 40% professional players, you will not have that kind of success that we had in the World Cup '94, because we put all the academy players together, because I went there also and want to train with them for 1 year preparation for the World Cup. We played 32 national team games. If you bring teams together on a regular basis, on a daily basis, those players will be much, much better. And that's how you get into that kind of a level with the best players. So the academy system was great. And then the U17 academy for the national team, picking the best 22 players, not 50, 22 players, that would be great too. Because then you have the best players. There always be somebody who develops a little bit later that you can bring back in and is maybe outstanding in some of the 24 players in that academy, you know, just falling off the wagon. But that's how you isolate the players and really get those players back. And the club teams, they have to have their own academies too. And the home academies means like the European the clubs have also. So that is kind of to sum it up. I know I'm going like a tree, going in all kind of different directions.
No, and you know what? It's so much information. And thank you for that perspective. That I'm gonna have to invite you on again. So let's wrap up with what you're currently doing in Hanoi and what are the biggest differences you've seen in Hanoi versus everywhere else that you've been at. And then, because I know it's getting pretty a longer one, and then we'll wrap it up. And then I'm gonna have to invite you back on, man, and talk about each piece individually.
That would be good because I need to go out also in a couple of minutes. So yeah, I here in Academy, I was wondering like 2 years ago before I came over here first time, I was wondering because Vietnam was booming like crazy. And I was wondering why, and that was right before in that year when I was with the Philippines in those 4 years, they were like really coming up. And I was wondering why that happened. So when I signed the first time 2019-20 with the club, I wasn't involved in the academy, but I was involved with the first team. But the first team and the academy, they are in one complex. They all live in one big building. We have 6 beautiful soccer fields, 2 little kind of stadiums with like each has like 500 people watching on one side, stands, seating area, but first class grass areas and 2 turf fields. A beautiful park area, nice pool, nice best equipment, nice offices, everything first class. And the kids from U10 up to the first team, they are living here. Breakfast, lunch and dinner, school, everything. They're walking over to go to school in the morning, come back. And sometimes they have school in here. And they train every day. Whenever they want. If you want to go because your right foot is bad, go down there on the field, do whatever you want to do. Some of the fields sometimes are closed because they vandalize it and all that stuff, but you can go any place where you want to do. So they can develop them. They are technically pretty good. They are much better than they were like years before. And they went #1 in Asia with the first team, with U23 teams, with U20 teams, and so on. Amazing. But now when I come here and working with the academy, I figured out why the reason from that level right now in Asia, the top level, to the top level in Europe is still a gap. And the gap is the system. They are not playing a system like they play in Germany or in England or in Italy. They have the national championship on 1 month. In that 1 month, they played 16 games in 34 days. And it's hot. It's 40 degrees and humid. It's a killer. The people are cramping up all over the place, the kids, cramping up all over the place. If somebody gets injured, he's done for the whole tournament because he cannot recover in those short days. Every 2 to 3 days is a game. It's crazy. And then after that tournament, there's nothing. They just train. Maybe here and there a friendly game. And I trying to change this in a more seasonal level. So that we have I don't know if they're going to change it with the federation, that we, instead of having it in 1 month, spread out to 4 months. So every week we have 1 game on the weekend. So you can play, you can analyze it, and you can train the whole week on things that you didn't do well and prepare for the next game. And then after that, we create a league here in Hanoi in the area. There are like 8, 9, 10 different clubs, first and second division. We put them together and creating a league. Every weekend we play a game, home game and away game. So now you would spread instead of a 1 month, now you have a 10 months league or 2 leagues, 10 months. So that is a development. And as long as you don't do that, you will not be successful here. And that's what we're trying to do, or I'm trying to do here.
So my last question, that residential piece, is that universal, or is your club unique in having that residential from U10 up?
No, it's every first division team here has an academy. But we and PVF, we have the best facilities. I mean, PVS maybe even a little bit better, but we are not far behind. So our two are very well funded. And the good thing, because the other one, they have money issue, they don't have the support.
But Thomas, let me cut you off because I know you got to go. But I'm talking about the residential, the kids living there. Is that uncommon or is that common?
No,
and do they pay?
No, they don't pay.
And is it common? So is that an unusual situation, or is that common in Vietnam?
That's common. So nobody pays.
And but the residential,
the kids will be picked off the quality.
But the residential piece, and they live there, is that uncommon or common?
No, everything is free.
No, but the living there, not living with your parents, living there.
Yeah, everything is free.
I know it's free, Thomas. I'm saying, but living there, is that common? Like in the States, if you said I was at a residential place, even if it was free, it would be uncommon.
No, it is common. In every club has an academy where the kids live for free. That's
what I wanted to get there. Okay, that's definitely unique. Thomas, I know you got to run. I'm gonna ping you again, man. We're gonna do this again because I want to dig deeper into Hanoi, deeper into your mental program. Make sure people can get in touch with you. This has been Neil Crawford with the Inside Scoop. We've been on location in Germany, America, Philippines, and Hanoi, Vietnam. We didn't get a chance to go too deep in any particular area, but the breadth of the conversation was just absolutely wonderful. So Thomas, I'm going to put your website in the show notes as well. Guys, let's get better together.